Good evening and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live on Aligning for Success. I'm going to wait a few moments because there's a few people who have suggested that they'd like to join, and also because there's quite a few questions that some of those people have emailed me about. So whilst I'm waiting, hi Bronwyn, hi Marianne, whilst I'm waiting, I thought I'd have a little chat about the title. Hi Amanda, Orla, Juliet. Because the title itself was a little bit of a sneaky title. I set the title as Aligning for Success and I didn't say anything more. And what it's done has been fascinating because the questions that people have sent me have been more about success as it's defined externally than internally. Hi Amanda, thanks. Not like me to be sneaky. I'm never sneaky, except most of the time, you're right. People took the success that I was talking about to mean external success. But if we're going to be successful externally, it can only be because we're successful internally. And I want to clarify that too. All of us have opportunities in our lives, and those opportunities can be successful or not. Hi Glynis, hi Sarupa, hi Clara. And sometimes we can have that success continuing from one to another, so we start to feel successful. However, if we're not aligned within to what success is for us, then we're not going to maintain a permanent external success. So what do I mean by aligned within? Hi Doris, glad you could join us. Over the past few months, I've been talking about the elements. Hi Wendy. I've been talking about earth and water as the feminine elements, fire and air as more masculine, and ether. So when I talk about aligning for success, I'm not talking about an external validation from other people. What I'm talking about is how we bring the 5 elements together internally so that we are successfully being all that we can be. Because success isn't about how many deals we do, how much money we earn, how many friends we have. For me, success is about being all that we came here to be. Whether that's to be someone in a cave, in a mountain, high up in the hills, or whether it's about being someone that talks to a lot of people and works with them and helps them. That depends on the individual. But success at being all they can be means that any external success will naturally follow and flow from that. So yes, it was a little bit sneaky, aligning for success, because I'm not going to talk to you tonight about how you can become President of the United States or the CEO of a company or anything like that. This is about spirit. It's about what happens within us. It's about the touch that we have on the lives of other people. But most importantly, and not from an ego perspective, it's about the touch we have on ourselves when we bring all aspects of ourselves together equally and in harmony. So, would you like me to go through some of the questions that I've been asked? Because believe me, I've got a sheet and a half of questions. So obviously, this is a topic that interested quite a few people. Clara, who's joined us tonight, hi Clara, asked a really good question. Is success that important in our life? Yes, it is. From the perspective of that being all we can be. I'm sure I'm not the only one who at certain times has felt that in a certain situation I could have done more, I could have been more. Somehow there was something of me that wasn't quite part of whatever that situation was that might have made a difference. That's what I mean when I talk about aligning for success. If all of us are aligned within, we don't have those feelings because we know that we're connected on all levels to ourselves and to the universe, to the divine. And that being so, every situation in which we're engaged is an opportunity for us to learn and to grow, first of all, and it's an opportunity for us to help others to learn and to grow equally. So success is important when it's that inner alignment. Anything else, it depends on who you are and what your goals are, what your dreams are, what you want to achieve as to whether that has any significance. I'll leave that to you to determine. Mary Ann asked, does aligning for success mean letting go of that which holds you back? Yes, it does, because if you align all aspects of yourself, the 5 elements within you, there isn't anything holding you back. It's that simple. And if you're not quite certain how they work, well, you have air, which is being curious about who we are, not being judgmental about what we do. There's a big difference. Are we curious about who we are, or are we judgmental about what we do? Fire, connecting to our inner wisdom and how we use that to inspire ourselves and others. If we only inspire ourselves and we don't provide an opportunity on our path to inspire other people, is there something out of balance there? That's a question, it's not a judgment. Water is about being sensitive. Sensitive to our own needs, yes, but sensitive to the needs of others. And it's a fine balance so that it doesn't topple one way or the other, because then you're not aligned. Earth is about the practical ways that we use all of who we are to fulfill our service, to step forward and to shine in the world. Again, not from an ego perspective, but to shine our inner light so that others can see it. For some it may be a beacon. For some it may be an encouragement to turn on their own. What was the song from E.T., Turn On Your Heart Light? I think we could do with a lot more of that at the moment. And then ether, of course, as I said, is our connection to the divine. It's our connection to the elementals. And it's our connection to the universe on all levels. So, Sonia also asked, what is the meaning of success? When people still resist taking the steps that could bring them success, how to move beyond that resistance? And that is a really good question, because basically what that is an element within that's not aligned to the others. If you're resisting taking a step that you know is there for you to take, it's because there's a judgment or a fear behind it. And usually people will say there's a fear of stepping forward. But quite often, it's not a fear of stepping forward. It's a conviction, a judgment, that if you do, you'll do it wrong. You'll make a mistake. Well, you know, we are not intended to be perfect. And funnily enough, we all learn by our mistakes. Clara says, thank you for the clarifying of success being who we are. The first step for our learning and being, and it is. Not who we are, aren't I wonderful, look at me, I'm gorgeous, because that's not who we are. That's the personality cloth that we're wearing. It's about who we are, that we came here to be part of every life stream on this planet and part of the planet itself. We're a very tiny cog in a very big wheel. So if for some reason that cog isn't lubricated appropriately and it stops working, that's going to have an impact all the way down the line. So someone who is resisting taking those steps, that resistance blocks the path for other people too. And I don't say that because I want people to feel guilty. I say that simply because it's a matter of fact. Swarupa says success seems like it's messy more than it's not. No, it's not. It's the perception we have of success or the judgments and emotions we have around it, Swarupa. Success is simply being all we can be. And if we're being all we can be, why is it messy? I don't see any messiness there. Amanda says, what are the habits that can help keep this alignment as we move through the day? That's another one that's quite deep and probably not something that I would go into any great detail with today. But if you feel the energy is not flowing, or if you start to feel as though things are slowing down, they're not quite aligned or in harmony or in balance as you're used to, something's off. And sometimes that's all we feel, something's off, we don't know what. Then at that point, I would say it's a good time, first of all, to take your emotional pulse. How are you feeling? Are you feeling happy with things? Because our emotions are the fuel. They're the lubrication that make things happen. And if your emotions aren't in balance, then you know that that alignment slipped. And the simplest way to realign is to take a few moments just to sit, to close your eyes, to put yourself on the grid, feel your feet on the grid that goes around the planet, feel the light coming in from the universe down through your crown, and just feel that energy flow through you, out through your feet, into the grid, and you'll start to feel aligned again. Because in the middle of the day, you can't always stop and look at what's really wrong. That will bring you back into alignment. And at the end of the day, when you've got more time, then you can look at, was it a judgment? Was it a fear? Were you getting carried away and you weren't grounded? Were you not feeling inspired? Then you can use those clues. So Wendy's saying, I like this topic, Helen, and wondering if success is in fact being all we are. Yes, it is. That's what I'm trying to say. It's all about being all we can be, being all we are, and not the end results of the external success. Because when we focus on the external, we're not focusing on who we're being, we're focusing on what we're achieving. Aligning for success is about being, not doing. So let me come back to the questions. Is opening our heart, this is another one from Sonia, is opening our heart and accepting what is a key to success? Yes, it is. Acceptance of ourselves, first of all. When we stand in acceptance of who we are, we're aligned. We've not got a criticism. We're not objecting. We're not finding fault. We're not trying to trip ourselves up. So when we accept that who we are, all facets of ourselves, whether we particularly like them or not, is who we are, because that's part of our purpose for us to learn and to grow through those aspects, then we're aligned. We're not objecting, we're not trying to change it, we're not trying to do a deal with God to say, well, if I get rid of this, will you take care of that? We say, this is who I am. And from this point, this is me stepping forward to learn and to grow and to help others to learn and to grow in the process. Amanda says that's a couple of good actions to check in. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Wendy. Glynis says alignment for success is about being, not doing. Yes, very clear. It's always been about being and not doing. So now I've got a couple of questions from Swarupa. Isn't aligning for success the same as saying listen and follow your intuition? What's the difference? I think I've covered it, but I'm going to reiterate it because it is important. Aligning for success is not about following our intuition, because sometimes we don't know whether we're listening to our intuition or our feelings from the sacral chakra, from the emotional body. When we're aligned for success, all 5 elements are balanced and equal within us. Then we know that whatever our intuition gives us is from our intuition. So if we feel all 5 elements aligned within us, we can trust what we're being prompted to do. We can trust what we get in meditation, because there's no little voice in the background saying you're not really good enough, or you don't know enough, or you shouldn't have done that, or you should, must, or ought do this. It's about being at peace, basically. This is who I am, and this is what I want to share to help other people. And her second question was, isn't everything a success, even what we judge as failure? Yes, it is, but that's going into a different area. We can't fail, ever. However, when we judge that we failed, we're no longer aligned for success. When we judge we failed, we're no longer aligned for success. Actually, we're no longer aligned because we've judged it. So at that point, the elements are out of balance, and until we bring them back into balance, our pathway becomes a bit obscure, sometimes a bit cloudy, until it all falls into place again. So Svarupa goes on to say, and is that the issue? We judge ourselves as failed, and equally others judge us or measure themselves against their perception. True, but then, you know, when we're aligned within ourselves, it doesn't matter what other people feel or say or judge. If you're worried about how other people will receive what you have to say, you're not in alignment. If what you say is conditioned by ensuring that other people will receive it, you're not in alignment. Because at that point, it's not about the alignment, it's about what we're doing. It's not about who we're being. That's something I really want to emphasize. If we worry or fret or, and I've touched on this before, or condition what we're about to say so that other people will accept it, we're doing, we're not being. Because, you know, I've always found this, and those of you that know me will know that I shoot straight from the shoulder. I'm honest, sometimes to a fault. But I've always known that when I'm in that space of alignment, what comes out of my mouth, what I feel I need to share with someone, good or bad, is exactly what's relevant for that moment, for both of us. Not just for the person I'm sharing it with, but with me too. I need to hear it. And it may be that I need to hear it and that's why that person's reflecting it to me. Or it may be that I need to hear it to hear how I phrase things, or to be comfortable with what needs to be said on occasion. But I don't stop and worry about how the other person is going to receive it. My responsibility is to share what I'm being prompted to share. What they do with it is their responsibility and their choice. And remember, when we're upset, we're being set up. John told us that a long time ago. Excuse me. Haresh asked, how do we align our personality with our soul or our higher self's plan? Well, by aligning the elements within us, we're automatically aligned to the universe, as I said earlier. So therefore, we're aligned to our higher self and to the plan that the higher self has for us that we knew before we incarnated, and we promptly forgot once we took on physical life. So we now spend our time trying to get back to that knowing. I do like it when a plan comes together. Orla wants to know, how do we know if we're successful? Well, my definition of success, being all we can be, is how we know. When we feel that who we're being is authentically who we came to be, or even if it's not fully there, we know we're on the way towards it, then at that point, we're aligned for success and we are being successful. Does an attachment to results get in the way of the work we've come to do? Absolutely. Absolutely. We came here to do a job. We didn't come here to count how many people we saved, how many paths changed because of what we did, how many people listened to us or signed up for Facebook or follow our blog or whatever. That's not what we came here for. They're incidentals along the way, but they're not what help us to be successful in being who we are. So if we attach to the results, we've stopped being aligned to the universe and we're aligned to our personality. This is still Orla, is our external success dependent on our inner alignment? Yeah, that's in my book. If any of you disagree, please feel free to disagree, because I didn't say I was God. This is just me sharing what I've learned and experienced over the years and feel is the way things work. Can we have external success without... Can we have one without the other? Well, yes, I think I touched on that. You can have external success. Usually, however, if you're not aligned within, it doesn't last. You've only got to look at film stars, pop singers. The movie that's just come out is called A Star is Born. And in that, there was a person who was very, very successful, but wasn't aligned on inner levels. And because he wasn't aligned on inner levels, what happened was that things started to go south. And I'm not going to say any more, because if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it. But you look at any of those stories of real life people. Robin Williams was a perfect example, an absolutely fantastic individual, very kind, very generous, brilliant mind, suffered severe depression. So he didn't maintain his success because he couldn't maintain himself. Is aligning for success similar to the steps required for manifestation? No. No. If you go back through the blogs and you look at how I've talked about each element and what it can do, and particularly if you look at the challenges on Facebook for each element, they're the ways that will help you to align and to maintain your alignment if you want to do that. Bronwyn asked, when you speak of success, in what sense? Well, we've covered that. Is success speaking of achieving things we desire, or more like a sense of being? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because until we be all we can be, anything else we do is transitory. Wendy says, Helen, your comments on intuition and source of same are of interest as a creative person. Yeah. My creativity involves intuitive pathways, which I love. Thinking a little more about managing my creativity now. And that's great, because it doesn't block it, it actually enhances it. If you bring in the other elements, you can see, for example, the earth helps us to ground what we're creating. So all of those elements, when they combine together, when they collaborate with each other, make us so much more than when we just focus on one aspect alone, because then it has to work so hard and it doesn't really need to. Is it possible to be successful on all levels? Bronwyn asked. Yes, I firmly believe it's totally possible to be successful on all levels. And yes, Bronwyn says, by that I'm interpreting success to mean fulfilled. Absolutely, absolutely. How to juggle the desires of the personality with the desires path of the soul? That's a great question. I wouldn't juggle at all. That's just me. I wouldn't juggle the desires of the personality, because that takes away from that alignment to the universe. What I would do is focus on what my total alignment of the elements is saying, because out of that will come what my personality needs to do to achieve its fulfillment. If I see the personality as something other, I've got a battle. If I focus on the higher self and the alignment of the 5 elements within and work with that, my personality is taken care of, it's supported, and it becomes the vehicle through which my higher self can operate in a physical world. But if I try to juggle the two, I've got 2 distinct areas that I'm stepping back and forth into. I think that could just make you feel a bit seasick. Does success involve sacrifice? No, it does not. Unless you believe that you have to sacrifice yourself for something or someone else. And I would suggest that if you have that feeling, you're not aligned on all levels. You don't have to pay a price to be all you can be. You just get the fun of being it. If you've got a sacrifice, that's actually Old Testament stuff. And I think we've gone a bit beyond that. Thanks, Ola. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And thanks, Bronwyn. Yes, you do get a lot of seasickness when you're trying to get between the personality and the soul. And then, what aspect of us determines whether an experience is successful? Well, the elements do. All 5 elements aligned within us, because that's when we're fulfilled on all levels. If we're aligned within and we have an experience, that alignment means that spiritually we feel energized, we feel connected. From a fire element, it inspires us that it's been so good that we want to do more of it. From an air element, we have enjoyed at a mental body level what's happening, and instead of criticizing it, we look at how we can improve it. From an emotional level, from the water element, we feel nourished and supported, and from the earth, because we've grounded something as a physical and we've had an experience, it's become real. We have a tangible, real example of what it's like to be aligned on all levels, and that's the success. So yes, it can be. How do we know when we're aligned? When you can sit back and say, I have no regrets about anything in my life, because all of it has helped to make me who I am today, then you're aligned on all levels. All of us have things that challenge us. All of us have had experiences of things that cause us pain. We've all had joy. We've all had opportunities. And every one of those has been responsible for helping us to learn, to grow, and to be all that we can be. If you can look at them all equally and say, thank you, then you're aligned on all levels. But if you've got to go back and fix something, then you're not. So, they're the questions that people sent. I think we've been going quite a little while now, so I'm pretty sure some of you have got places to go and people to see. If you want to do more of this, if you want to talk more about this, then let me know. Next month is the final one for the year. So I'm throwing it open and saying anything that we've talked about on the Insight Teachings Facebook Live over this year, if there's anything that you want to revisit, you've got a question around, then put it in the comments when we post this video, and let's see what fun we can have with it for the last one of the year. Thanks very much for joining me. I've enjoyed answering your questions, made me think, which is good. And I hope I've given all of you some answers to help you move forward and enjoy being all you can be. Take care and good night.